Hi guys, I'm Robert, and this is part of my series where I try to guide newcomers to the adventure motorcycle scene in all the choices and at least help you along in your decisions that you need to make. So today is luggage time, talking luggage systems, and mainly for camping adventures, camping trips, because that's when we have to bring the most stuff, like cooking equipment, sleeping arrangements, clothes and tools and everything. So some things I say are objective truths, like the laws of physics, but then we look at some different luggage systems and of course end up what I choose, my personal experience and preferences, which may not be where you fit in, but I hope you can pick some cherries and make your own decisions. So now that we will put all the gear, the weight of it, on the bike, depending on where we put it, that will affect the handling of the bike quite dramatically. So the perfect spot to have all the weight is down by the foot pegs. That's sort of where the bike is built to have the weight centered for the handling. And the further away from the foot pegs that we place the weight, the worse. And now you can imagine we take the weight and we move it back, it gets worse and worse and worse, and then we even put it up even further back and weight down. Now you have a top box. So if you have a top box, it's really practical for some, of course, but just make sure not to put the main bulk of the weight in a top box. The closer to the foot pegs, the better. So first we have the aluminum boxes. They are very practical. You can easily pack and arrange stuff in them. You can lock them. Even if the locks often are really, really bad, you can open them with a screwdriver. They're watertight and just practical. And you can take them off and use them in camp to sit on or cook on and things like that. But you should only consider aluminum boxes if you're not doing any active off-road, because there's also a safety problem with these. One thing is going active off-road, I also tend to fall with the bike and small crashes and stuff like that. And it's like a beer can. If you once sort of buckle it and deform it, it will be really hard to get back to the shape where it seals okay again and so on. And then we have some legs being busted by these bags. So if you paddle with your feet or you get down on the ground with your feet, you get stuck, and these alu boxes are not going anywhere. So I've heard people getting stuck with the legs and sort of squashed against the bags because they don't give. So there have been some legs injured that way. And that's why the more off-road you go, the better it is with soft bags. And then we have the soft sort of racked bags. They are soft, they give away if you get stuck with your leg and so on. They move a little and is more safe that way. But they still work like these detachable bags, and you can carry them off and so on. And they have the same practicality with usually they're lockable and easy packing and things like that. And when they're soft, they can also, when they're not used or fully packed, they can also compress and be smaller when you don't sort of pack them. And what could be a downside is that they require a rack on the bike. And that adds weight, but it also adds width to the bike. I've seen scenarios where the bags actually are further out than the handlebar, and that's something you need to make sure that whatever you pack, it needs to be narrower than the handlebars. If you're filtering in traffic or something like that, you need to know that if you can pass with a handlebar, you know your luggage will come through also. Otherwise you can end up in a sailing boat. And then we have the rackless systems, which is what I use. And I use that because it's very modular and I can throw it over any bike. I can lend it to a buddy, or I can put it on my old Suzuki or whatever. And I also like it because it keeps the luggage much sort of narrower, closer to the bike. Because a wide luggage system also gives you some lateral instability sometimes. But it's all up to preferences and how much you want to bring. And we also have a sort of hybrid solution. And these are the first bags that I bought, the Enduristan Monsoon 3. And same thing, you just throw them over any bike that you have or going to use them on. Works really good. But these require some sort of rack, not the big racks that you have for the real rack cases. But what you want is, if you go off-road, you also want your luggage to be fairly strapped to the bike and not flap around. And these hang out over here, so you will have a lot of flapping going on here. So for these types of bags, you would need some sort of mini rack to strap them onto to just secure them and keep them from flapping. So these bags were quite good to start with. They are light, they were quite cheap, 30 liter each, and then a 30 liter on top, 90 liters of luggage, and that's a lot. But we'll talk about volume. Whatever type of luggage you get, volume is a thing. So let's talk volume. Regardless of luggage system or style that you use, volume is a thing. I have the Moskomoto Reckless 40 liters, and I borrowed Matthias 80 liter system, so double the volume. And for me, actually, these two, using the 40 liter system, actually turned out to be more expensive than the 80 liter system. Because when I started out, I had some camping gear, mainly the sleeping arrangements. I went budget, and they have been great to use. But this is the tent, 3 kilos, and quite bulky. Sleeping bag, synthetic, and sleeping mat. So I needed the big volume just to get that in there, and then I could add the clothes and cooking gear and stuff like that. And you also perhaps want some luxury items like chairs and stuff like that. But for the 40 liter system, I can bring almost as much as on a larger system, but I had to spend quite a lot of money to get a small ultralight tent, a down sleeping bag and so on, and these can compress and actually I can fit the sleeping arrangement in one of these 14 liters side bags and then have the rest for what else I need. So mainly for me the sleeping equipment was the bulk of the volume. So it can actually be cheaper if you don't camp that much, you don't want to get the super expensive camping gear to go ultralight and stuff like that. A larger volume would allow you to do that, even though that the luggage itself is more expensive, the total cost will be less. So the reason I went for the small system is that I want to force myself not to bring too much. I really have to be clever about what I pack, how I pack, and use a lot of multi-purpose philosophy in things. Because it brings the weight down and I can be much more agile and just don't have that many things on the bike. But that's not for everyone. You heard the expression light is right. It's not true for everyone. If you want to go more normal adventure touring and stuff, you can bring as much as you want, but just remember to pack as close to the pegs as possible, which means building a tower of stuff in the rear will really make your bike unstable, especially if you end up off-road. So regardless of luggage style or type that you choose, this is the main luggage system on the bike, but you also have other places to bring some extra stuff on. If you have crash bars, it's also popular to have auxiliary bags mounted on the crash bars, which I don't. But it also evens out the weight a bit, and just make sure not to have any sensible stuff in here, because if and when you fall with the bike, this will take a lot of beating. So yeah, you can use that for whatever. I also use a backpack when riding, and I bring, that's also a place to put some stuff like extra gloves or a warm layer or whatever. It's also nice if, you park for the night, you want to take a hike, go into town or whatever, backpack is always nice. And you have a water bladder in here for when riding, practical. I also bring another backpack, which is very practical. If you don't have the big backpack, for instance, this little mini backpack. It's a 20-liter backpack. It's for temporary use. If you're just going into town for some groceries or for the last stretch before you camp or something, it's great to just have. It's like a grocery bag that you can have on your back. And we have the tank bags in different sizes. The T7 is not a fun bike to put a big tank bag on. It looks like a chimney from the Titanic or something like that, because the tank is so high. Completely different story on different bikes. So I usually have a smaller bag like this. Also good for the stuff that you need on the bike, and I keep valuables in it also, because I bring it with me when I leave the bike and so on. So there's also options like that for when you travel. Whatever type of luggage system that you use, I like to have something that is modular. Both adding these auxiliary stuff, but also in the luggage system that sometimes I want to go really small, sometimes I want to bring more stuff, so that I can adapt to that. So there are so many options for you out there now, but I would start in deciding which style of luggage first of all. Either aluminium boxes with the big Starship Enterprise look, or the racked soft bags, or the rackless bags like I have. Once there are many different brands that offer different solutions and qualities and lightness and thickness and sturdiness and things like that. I do like the Moscow bags because my kids can use them after they salvaged me from the ravine I was buried in, and perhaps their kids after them. It's really sturdy and tough gear. But yeah, it's of course up to you. I recommend read the comments, because as in the other videos, we have a lot of experience from the viewers with what they use and so on. So start the conversation there. So this is a icebreaker video, I guess. So good luck in your choices there. So thank you for watching today, and I have a lot more upcoming videos in this series, but now the season hopefully starting soon, and there'll be a lot of adventure, off-road and fun stuff on the channel. I so look forward to that. So stay tuned and see you in the next one. Ride safe. Bye bye.